All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into Operation Epic Fury, and this is a fascinating one, because the war on the ground is being fought just as hard as the war for information.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. On one hand, you've got the Pentagon saying this whole thing is sheer destruction for their adversaries. I mean, the quote is, "They are toast." But then you flip over to the Iranian side and their spokesperson says, "We have also inflicted very serious damage on the enemy." So who's right? We've got two completely different realities being presented. Our goal here is to unpack both of these narratives so you can start to piece together what's actually happening.
So first up, let's tackle the U.S. narrative. The picture the Pentagon is painting, it's one of a swift, super precise, and, well, overwhelmingly successful military campaign.
U.S. officials are saying that within days they're going to achieve what they call uncontested airspace. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's complete control of the skies. It means they can fly wherever they want, day or night, and find, fix, and finish any target in Iran, and there's basically nothing Iran can do to stop them.
And to back this up, the Pentagon isn't just using strong words. They're putting out some really specific numbers. Get this. They're claiming that in just the first 4 days, Iran's ballistic missile launches are down by a whopping 86%, and their one-way attack drones down 73%. So, from their perspective, Iran's ability to fight back is, and I quote, evaporating by the hour.
And the sheer scale here is just, wow. We're talking over 2,000 targets hit already. To put that in perspective, this campaign is being described as having twice the air power of that famous shock and awe phase of the 2003 Iraq War. That is a ton of firepower.
So what's the ultimate goal? What's the endgame here? Well, according to U.S. officials, the mission is absolutely laser-focused. It's about three things. 1. Obliterate Iran's missiles, drones, and the factories that build them. 2. Annihilate its navy and key security infrastructure. And 3, and this is the big one, sever their pathway to nuclear weapons, permanently.
And speaking of the Navy, according to U.S. forces, the Iranian Navy is basically decimated. We're talking more than 20 vessels destroyed. And here's a crazy piece of trivia for you. That includes sinking an Iranian warship with a submarine torpedo. That is the first time that has happened in combat since World War II. Think about that.
So when you hear all that, the assessment from some U.S. military analysts is pretty blunt. One former Top Gun pilot on Fox News was asked, what options does this leave Iran? His answer was simple, 0. They really don't have any options.
Okay, so that's one side of the coin. Now let's flip it over. Because Iran and its state media, they're telling a completely, and I mean completely different story. It's a story of defiance, of resilience, and a really devastating human toll.
And the first thing you see in the Iranian narrative, the most critical point, is the human cost. Just 5 days in, Iran's health ministry is reporting that over 900 people have been killed in these strikes.
Now, what's interesting is that Iran isn't denying they're taking hits. A spokesperson actually said, "Naturally, we have suffered painful blows. But," and this is a big but, they immediately follow that up by saying they are hitting back just as hard, delivering, quote, extremely devastating blows that have, again quoting here, truly astonished their enemies.
Yeah, so they are really pushing this idea that it is not a one-sided fight. Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps is claiming it has already launched its 19th wave of retaliatory strikes. The message is clear. We are still in this, and we are still targeting U.S. bases.
And reports from news outlets like Al Jazeera are painting a really harrowing picture from inside Iran. They're describing a civilian population under intense bombardment, talking about strikes on a radio station, on residential areas, and, just horribly, a strike on an elementary school that they claim killed over 160 children. You can only imagine the fear and frustration that must be growing on the ground.
So, okay, you've heard both sides. When you have two stories that are this different, finding out what's really happening on the ground becomes, well, almost impossible. This is exactly what military analysts call the fog of war.
All right, let's try to make sense of this by looking at a timeline of some of the key events, at least as they've been reported. So, Day 1, the operation kicks off, and the supreme leader is killed. Day 2, that Iranian warship, the Dena, is sunk. Day 3, U.S. sources start reporting this massive Kurdish ground offensive. Day 4, Iran claims it's launched its 19th wave of strikes. It's a lot, happening very fast.
But here's the kicker. Are any of these events really what they seem? Because this is where it gets super complicated. Almost every single major development we've just talked about is contested. Facts themselves have become weapons in this information war.
I mean, just take that report about a massive Kurdish ground invasion. You have a senior U.S. official confirming it to Fox News, right? Saying thousands of fighters crossed the border. But then, almost immediately, the White House comes out with a firm denial saying that report is completely false. And on top of that, Iraqi Kurdish leaders are also saying, nope, not us, none of our people have crossed the border. So, what do you believe?
And you see this same pattern of confusion everywhere you look. Civilian casualties? The U.S. says it never targets them. Iran claims over 900 are dead. The status of Iran's leadership? The Pentagon says they're dead, missing, or cowering. Iran says no, the assembly of experts is just calmly consulting on a successor. It is the ultimate he said, she said, but on a massive geopolitical scale.
So where does all this leave us? Well, basically, with two parallel realities running at the same time, and a lot more questions than answers about what in the world comes next.
And let's be clear, these aren't just slightly different opinions. These are two completely irreconcilable stories playing out in real time. From the U.S. perspective, this is a successful, precise operation that has neutralized a major threat. But from Iran's perspective, they see a nation under a brutal assault, suffering immense loss, but fighting a heroic war for its very survival.
And here's why this really matters. In modern warfare, the battle for the narrative is every bit as important as the battle on the ground. Every single message is tailored for a specific audience. Maybe it's to rally support at home, maybe it's to sway international opinion, or maybe it's just to demoralize your enemy. So if you want to understand this conflict, you have to understand the information war.
And all of this leaves us with one last, pretty unsettling question to think about. When both sides are telling their people and the world that they're winning, who actually gets to decide when the war is over? That's the unwritten and deeply uncertain next chapter for this entire region.